Welcome back, everybody. So to start this episode off, I'd like to tell a story. So as you know, I live here. And if you don't know where that is, don't worry about it. No one does. So we didn't get our first case of COVID until February 29th of 2020. It was an elderly man on a plane coming from Iran who eventually tested positive for none other than COVID-19. We were still going to school around that time, but one fateful day, this kid arrived. And he arrived differently to everyone else. Oh yes, he was feeling very daring on this day, because he arrived with a mask. And everyone just looked at him, really weird. News spread like wildfire about the boy that wore a mask. Frankly, I don't know why this kid was picked on so much for being the first to wear a mask, because within the space of 2 months we got like 13,000 cases, so yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, there was this one kid, expert that he was, who said, wearing a mask actually increases your chances of getting COVID because the virus gets all over your face. I think this really summarizes just how much knowledge we had of the virus then. But let me ask you this. By wearing a mask, who is protected? Go on, I'll give you 30 seconds. Alright, I'm assuming you have the answer now. And if your answer was all the answers, then you'd be correct. Good job. But why? Well, friends, I proudly present Izhar's informative and scientific guide on how to not get dead. Alright, let's start. And this is without question the most important step. Wash your hands with soap and water. Yes, I understand, this is something we've been told countless times before, but why is it so effective at destroying the virus? Well, the reason why is because the coronavirus has this thing called the lipid bilayer. Basically, the outside is made out of these things that look like tadpoles. The round end of the tadpole is hydrophilic. Like a camel that's trekked the open desert for days, it loves water. The pointy end of the tadpole is hydrophobic. Like a filthy weeaboo, it hates water. This is what makes the virus so effective at sticking to surfaces. Soap, on the other hand, has a very similar structure to this layer. Think about it like this. When you have grease on your hands, water alone won't wash it off. Use soap and water, however, and it goes right away. It works the same way with the virus. When they come into contact with each other, it rips apart that outer layer because they're so strongly attracted. So now that the virus is clapped, it basically dies. So yes, wash your hands, everyone. But not too much, because if you wash your hands too much, your hands get really dry and it's really unpleasant. Moving on. Oh, before that, you can also use hand sanitizer. That works. Wait, one more thing. Wash your hands with cold water so that your hands don't get as dry. Wear a mask when distancing is not possible. I am aware that a lot of people seem to think that wearing a mask is going to suffocate them and kill them. I don't know, because obviously that's what happens to the health workers who wear multiple layers for, I've heard, up to 16 hours a day. But why are we told to wear masks anyway? Well, not many people realize that masks are there more to protect others than ourselves. That dumb kid that never wears a mask in public most likely is going to get all his friends ill as well. And we don't want that, do we? Unless your friends eat pizza like this, then go ahead, sneeze on them all. But masks are the barrier that will stop them from getting ill. COVID is a respiratory disease. It spreads through droplets. Each time we talk, we produce hundreds of droplets without us knowing. Masks are there to trap those infected droplets before we potentially make others sick. Never forget what happened in South Korea in a city called Paju. In a certain Starbucks, 56 people tested positive for COVID. That was literally everyone in the store, except the workers. How did they accomplish this? Because they were wearing masks. Point proven. And yes, about this notion that masks will kill you. Here, look, I'll put on a mask right now, alright? Watch this. See? I'm completely fine. Seriously, we're a year into a pandemic and some people still think masks... Avoid large crowds. This is especially important when you're out in public, in a place like a mall. The more people are around you, the more likely someone in that crowd's going to be asymptomatic. And that puts you at a higher risk of getting dead. So if you happen to see a large crowd, do society a favor. Swerve around them. Oh yeah, and don't be a Jake Paul and host a huge party in Calabasas in the middle of the pandemic. Around these parts, that's what we call pepega. Don't touch your eyes or nose. The coronavirus needs an orifice to enter your body, most commonly the eyes or nose. So in case you've touched an infected surface, not touching your eyes or nose means that the coronavirus has nowhere to enter your body, and thus you're less likely to get sick. Yeah, that's about it. Easy clap. Alright, so this step we've been doing for basically ages now, but what does social distancing actually do? Well, viruses have this thing called an R0, short for basic reproductive number, and it stands for the average amount of people that a carrier will infect. Measles has one of the highest R0s we know of, 12. A person with measles will typically infect 12 others. Comparatively, COVID's R0 isn't that high, it's only about 2.5. So that's fine, right? Well, after 10 rounds of infections, how many people do you think are going to fall ill? I mean, it can't be that bad, right? It's not like it's going to be 1,000. Unfortunately, it is. But what does this mean? It means when you go home for dinner after hanging out with that asymptomatic friend of yours, you're going to potentially infect your whole family as well, and whoever they talk to, and whoever they talk to, and so on. The easiest way to stop its spread is by taking ourselves out of that formula, by staying at home, both to stay away from people who might be sick and also to stay away from others in case you're sick. Reopening early wasn't such a good idea, was it, mate? Alright, now this one is a bit more serious and something you may not expect. It's certainly not something you'd find on a leaflet at school or in public, because it's a shocking truth, and it needs to be addressed. Arrogance. Not following regulations because you say it violates your rights, while healthcare workers are risking their lives day in, day out, saving people from a disease that could have been prevented. Not wearing a mask in public because you want to enjoy the fresh air as cases in your country spiral into oblivion. And also, going about your daily life without a care, unaware that you're the reason people are losing their lives. Don't be that person. Sure, COVID spread is slowing down, especially with the new vaccine that's been developed. But second waves are always possible. Don't let this be a repeat of what's happened in the past. In 1918, in 1957, and in 1968. COVID's already taken 2 million lives, so do everything you can to slow its spread. Because who knows, your actions may cause a friend or a family member to fall ill, or even worse, yourself. And no one wants that. Don't be ignorant. Wear a mask even if it's annoying, and don't be the reason why people are losing their lives. And that, everyone, concludes episode 3 of COVID series. I really hope you've learned something today, and of course, thank you so much for watching.